beautiful souls. Sunshine here, your host of Energize Your Passion, the podcast that's all about fueling your fire and lifting you up with vibrant positivity. Today's topic, is something near and dear to my heart: navigating intercultural relationships and celebrating differences. Because let's face it, the world's more connected than ever. But sometimes connecting with each other can feel like, a little tricky. We're going to dive into what makes intercultural relationships so rewarding. Why celebrating differences isn't just about being nice, it's about finding joy, strength, and magic in diversity. So sit back, sip your tea, coffee, or whatever beverage hits the spot. Maybe take us along for your daily jog because this is going to be good. Segment 1: The Beauty in Differences. There's something deeply magical about connecting with someone whose life experiences, traditions, and worldview are shaped by a culture different from your own. It's like holding a prism up in the sunlight and you see colors and patterns you've never noticed before. You realize that your way isn't the only way, and sometimes not even the best way. It's just one beautiful way among many. Intercultural relationships open doors most of us didn't even know existed. They challenge us to step outside of the familiar. Energize Your Passion, we talk about stepping outside of your comfort zone all the time to see the world through a different lens and to fall in love, not just with a person, but with an entirely new way of experiencing life. Sometimes it's the little things that teach us the most. A phrase we've never heard before, a dish we couldn't pronounce or ended up loving, a family tradition that made us rethink our own ideas about celebration, love, or respect. In these moments of discovery that our hearts expand the most, it's in these exchanges that we build bridges that aren't just sturdy, they're breathtaking. Let's dive into a few beautiful real life stories from our community that capture just how transformational these intercultural connections can be. Joy shares how a family recipe exchange with her in laws from Japan transformed her perspective on tradition. Joy's story is such a perfect example of how traditions can become a shared language. When she first entered her husband's family gatherings, Joy wasn't sure how she fit in. She didn't speak Japanese fluently, and she felt a little lost among all the customs that were second nature to everyone else. But then someone suggested a simple, heartfelt exchange, sharing family recipes. It was like magic. Instead of feeling like an outsider, Joy became a contributor. She learned the art of making homemade mochi from her mother in law while introducing them to her own family cornbread recipe passed down from generations in the American South. Through the measuring, stirring, laughing at the kitchen mishaps, and trading cooking tips, Joy realized something profound. Traditions aren't meant to be walls that separate us, they're bridges that invite us to walk towards each other. Each recipe carried memories, stories, and a whole world of emotions. In mixing and tasting each other's history, they created something brand new, a blended family tradition that will carry forward for years to come. Isn't that beautiful? Sam recounts how learning Italian from his partner opened up a whole new way of communicating emotions. Sam's journey is such a beautiful reminder that language is more than just words. It's emotion, it's culture, it's rhythm. At first, Sam thought learning Italian would just be a fun side project, a way to impress his partner's family on vacations. But what he didn't expect was how deeply it would change the way he felt things. How certain expressions, phrases that had no direct English translation would unlock entire new shades of meaning. In Italian, there are dozens of ways to say I miss you, each carrying a slightly different emotional weight. Sam learned that sometimes a single word could hold layers of tenderness that he never knew how to express before. Through the process of learning, making mistakes, laughing at his own awkwardness, and receiving patient, loving corrections from his partner, Sam realized something. Love isn't about perfection, it's about effort, about reaching out even when it's uncomfortable, about trying to understand someone's world, even if it means stumbling over your words at first. And what's even more beautiful, Sam said he feels closer to his partner, not just because he speaks Italian better now, but because he was willing to try, to step to their world instead of asking them to only live in his. These two stories shine a light on a bigger truth. When we're willing to explore beyond our own horizons, we create space for new beauty to blossom. It's not about erasing who we are, it's about expanding who we are. Every culture exchange, every awkward first attempt, every shared celebration adds a new color to the vibrant tapestry of our lives. So, if you're in an intercultural relationship or even just building a friendship across cultural lines, know this: you're part of something deeply important. You're showing the world that love, curiosity, and openness are stronger than fear or division. You're building something that makes the world a richer, more vibrant place for all of us. And yes, it's beautiful. It's all inspiring, but it's not always smooth sailing. You might be wondering, okay, sunshine, but what about the challenges? Don't worry. In the next segment, we're tackling those head on. Segment 2: The Challenges and Opportunities. All right, beautiful people, let's get real for a second. Because here's the thing: intercultural relationships aren't always easy. No, they're not. They can be full of surprises, learning curves, and moments that'll make you say, wait, you what? Sometimes it's the big things like differing religious beliefs or parenting philosophies. But just as often, it's the little unexpected things that throw you off balance. The way someone greets you, how you celebrate holidays, their views on gender roles, how they approach spending or saving money, what on time means, how often they call their family, how they deal with conflict, whether they talk it out immediately or go quiet until they process things. And when you're not prepared for those differences, whew, it can feel like you're speaking two totally different emotional languages. But here's the golden truth. I want you to hold close. Every challenge is also an opportunity to listen deeper, an opportunity to question your assumptions, an opportunity to grow in ways you never imagined. It's not about being perfect. It's not about solving everything overnight. It's about learning to dance with the differences instead of fighting them. And sometimes that dance is clumsy at first, but with a little patience and a whole lot of love, it can become something truly beautiful. Let's hear from a couple of our amazing listeners who've walked through these challenges and came out with deeper understanding and stronger love on the other side. Maria talks about navigating cultural expectations around gift giving in her relationship with her Nigerian boyfriend. Now, isn't that fascinating? Something as joyful as gift giving can be packed with cultural meaning. Maria initially thought it was just about finding a thoughtful present, but she quickly discovered that in her boyfriend's Nigerian culture, gifts weren't just cute gestures, they were layered with respect, family traditions, and emotional weight. It wasn't just the what it was, the how, the when, and why behind each gift that mattered. At first, Maria was overwhelmed. She was worried she'll get it wrong, or worse, accidentally offend someone. But instead of retreating or breaking it off, she leaned in. She asked questions. She listened to her boyfriend and his family. She took the time to learn not just what was expected, but why it mattered. And in doing so, she didn't just check off a cultural box. She honored a part of his identity. That respect didn't go unnoticed. It built trust. It deepened their connection. What could have been a moment of distance became a bridge of love. Peter shares the moment he realized his American upbringing shaped his perception of time and how his Mexican partner's more fluid sense of time helped him learn to relax. Okay, Peter's story gave me the biggest smile because, whew, if you know, you know. Time can be one of those invisible cultural differences that feel so personal. Peter grew up in a time is money kind of world. Meeting at 2 meant being there by 1:55. Plans were scheduled down to the minute, and being late, total disrespect. So when his partner took a more relaxed, fluid approach to times, sometimes showing up 30 minutes late to brunch or choosing conversation over the clock, Peter was not ready. At first, it triggered him. He felt dismissed. He thought, don't you care? But as they talked and really got honest, Peter realized that for his partner, being late wasn't about disrespect. It was about presence. It was about soaking in the moment, not rushing connection, and trusting that everything will unfold as it should. That realization flipped the switch in Peter. He started to loosen his grip on the clock. He started to breathe a little more. He even started showing up late, but happier, more relaxed, more connected. And y'all, that's the kind of transformation love makes possible. These stories aren't just sweet, they're powerful. They show us that intercultural relationships aren't just about learning someone else's custom, they're about unlearning some of our own. We grow up thinking that the way we do things is the normal way. But what is normal? Really, what is normal? Often it's just what we've been surrounded by. It's familiar, but not necessarily better. And when we meet someone who does things differently, it can feel like a threat or it can feel like an invitation to stretch, to soften, to laugh at ourselves, to ask better questions, to fall in love, not just with the person, but with the way they see the world. That's why I always say The challenges aren't the end of the story, they're the beginning of something deeper. They'll stretch you, for sure. They might make you question things you thought were set in stone. They'll ask you to let go of control, ego, or assumptions. But if you're willing to walk through those moments with patience and grace, here's what you'll find: deeper connection, deeper compassion, and a relationship that can weather anything. So if you're in a season right now where cultural differences feel frustrating or even scary, remember this: you're not failing, you're growing. Give yourself and your partner or friend or family member permission to be human. Have the conversation, ask the questions, share how it makes you feel, and above all, keep your heart open, because every hurdle is an invitation to learn, to adapt, to laugh, and to love on an even deeper level. Now that we've faced the challenges, let's get into the real heart thumping reason intercultural relationships work: the bonds that strengthens us. Segment 3: Shared Values, Stronger Bonds. All right, now that we've looked at the challenges and stretched ourselves through the growing pains, let's talk about the beauty that comes after that. Because what happens when you push past the awkward moments, the miscommunications, and the why do you do that way questions is something truly magical. You start to discover the deeper values that connect you. Even if your backgrounds look completely different on the outside, inside, you may find that you care about the same things. You both value honesty, or family, or growth, or kindness, or sustainability, or creativity. And when those shared values rise to the surface, that's when the relationship deepens. That's when you go from learning about each other to actually building something together. It's no longer just about bridging differences, it's about aligning on purpose. And that's where the real power is. Let me tell you something from the heart. In any relationship, romantic, platonic, or even professional, shared values are the glue that keep people together through change. Because life will change, culture will change, families will grow, beliefs might even evolve. But if your values stay connected, you can ride any wave together. Let's hear it from two amazing community members who found exactly that deep, lasting connection rooted in shared values, even across very different cultural experiences. Tyreek reflects on how he and his Finnish wife found unity in shared emotional values despite cultural contrasts. Tyreek and his wife grew up in completely different corners of the world. Him in Morocco, her in Finland. Their childhoods couldn't have looked more different. From climate to customs, their daily routines didn't overlap much. But one thing they both deeply cared about: the environment. They bonded early on over their love for nature, long walks, clean energy, and sustainable living. Even when they disagreed on other things like food traditions, holidays, or what time means. Tariq's family was lively and loud, hers more reserved. This value kept pulling them back to the center. They started composting together, growing herbs in their tiny kitchen, and eventually even led community cleanup days in their neighborhood. Tariq said something that stuck with me. We may not always understand each other's habit, But when we're in the garden together, I feel completely in sync with her. Isn't that beautiful? Even something as practical as composting becomes a spiritual act of togetherness. That's the power of shared values. They don't always show up with fireworks and big speeches. Sometimes they show up in the quiet work of planting something side by side. Lucy shares how celebrating both the Lunar New Year and Christmas allowed her family to create their own unique traditions. Lucy grew up celebrating Lunar New Year with all its joy: red envelopes, dumplings, and fireworks. Her partner, on the other hand, grew up with Christmas trees, stockings, and roast dinners. At first, they tried taking turns. One year her traditions, one year his. But something always felt a little off. Like they were trading off pieces of themselves instead of weaving them together. So one year, Lucy had an idea. What if we celebrated both and made it our own? And just like that, a new tradition was born. They put up Christmas lights and red paper lanterns side by side. They'll make eggnog and dumplings. They'll play holiday music one day and dragon dance videos the next. The most beautiful part, their kids didn't see it as two different holidays. They just saw it as their family celebration. Lucy said, "It's not about picking one over the other. It's about honoring both. It makes our love feel layered and full." Now, that is what shared values look like in action. Not needing to erase one culture for the other, but blending them into something beautiful, balanced, and brand new. Isn't it amazing how these stories show us the quiet power of connection? Because sometimes we assume that if we come from different cultures, they won't understand each other. But really, they might share values so deeply aligned that it transcends language, customs, or tradition. And those values that inner compass, they create a foundation that can weather anything. Let's go a little deeper here. What are shared values really? They're not just nice ideas. They're the belief that guides how we live, how we love, how we show up. Some of the most common ones that show up in strong intercultural relationships are respect. Even if we disagree, we honor each other. Curiosity. We stay open to learning and being surprised. Adaptability. We're willing to change together. Growth. We challenge each other to be better. Compromise. We forgive, we soften, we lead with love. When you focus on these instead of differences in habits or routines, you start to realize something powerful. It's not our sameness that make us strong. It's our shared vision for how we want to treat each other. And that's where deeper resilience come in. Because it's because let's be honest, no relationship is without tension. But when you know that deep down you both want to be kind, generous, honest, respectful, you'll always find your way back to each other. Even when you're exhausted, even when you don't understand, even when you mess up, because your values will bring you home. So, beautiful people, if you're in a intercultural relationship right now, or maybe just starting one, take a moment today to talk about your values. Ask each other, what's something you really believe in? What's a value you hold that shaped how you were raised? What kind of legacy do you want to create together? You might be surprised by how aligned you already are, because it's not about agreeing on everything. It's about building your own shared meaning. something that holds you together when life gets chaotic. You're not just blending backgrounds, you're building a bond, a resilient, evolving, radiant bond that has the power to light up your lives and the world around you. Now that we've covered the strength behind shared values, let's talk about how to keep that connection strong through the long haul. Up next, we're getting into tips and tools to help you build bridges, not walls, in your intercultural relationship. Stick with me because the next segment is full of heart and help. Segment 4, Building Bridges, Not Walls. Okay, family. Okay, family. This is where the heart work really happens. Because let's be real, knowing how to celebrate differences is beautiful. Working through challenges is powerful. Finding shared value is inspiring. But what holds all that together day to day, what keeps your connection solid when life gets messy, when stress hits, when communication breaks down, intentional effort, daily love, conscious bridge building. Intercultural relationships aren't something you just fall into and expect to flow forever. They thrive when people show up ready to listen, to learn, and to lean in with love and humility. So, how do we do that? How do we build bridges instead of walls? Especially when emotions are high and misunderstandings pop up out of nowhere. Well, you know, I got you. Let's break this down into real life, everyday tools that keep the energy high and the connection strong. Number 1, lead with curiosity, not judgment. Before you jump to, that's weird, or why would you do it like that? Pause. That's right, pause. And get curious. Instead of judging the behavior, ask about the meaning behind it. Maybe your partner needs to consult their family before making a decision, not because they're indecisive, but because their cultural deeply honors elders. Maybe they don't celebrate birthdays in the same way, not because they don't care about you, but because their traditions express love differently. Curiosity says, I want to understand, and that opens the door to closeness. Number 2, make space for both cultures to coexist. This one's huge, y'all. Sometimes we think we have to pick one culture over the other, but real magic happens when both cultures can be seen, respected, and even celebrated together. Whether it's food, holidays, music, or rituals, find ways to say, we're not choosing between, we're weaving together. Even if it feels clunky at first, keep trying, keep talking, keep showing up. Every attempt is a love note, and you don't need to get it perfect. You just need to be present. Number 3, talk about the little things before they blow up. You don't have to wait until you're mad to bring something up. If you notice a pattern that feels off, name it gently. Hey, I noticed that in your culture, family is really hands on with decisions. I love that closeness, but sometimes I feel overwhelmed. Can we talk about it? That kind of honest, respectful dialogue builds bridges and it makes sure you don't accidentally build up silent resentment, which, let's be honest, becomes a wall over time. Talk early, talk often, talk with love. Number 4, celebrate the joy in learning. Instead of treating cultural misunderstandings like problems, reframe them as adventures, something to laugh about, learn from, and even look forward to. Let me give you 2 examples that highlights this beautifully from our Energize Your Passion family. Hannah explained how traveling with her Indian partner helped her embrace the unfamiliar and deepen their bond. Now, this one touched me deeply. When Hannah first visited India with her partner, she was completely out of her element. Everything was new: the food, the sounds, the pace of life. She admits that the first few days felt overwhelming, but she made a decision. Instead of shutting down, she would lean in. She asked questions. She observed without judgment. She even danced at a wedding, not knowing a single move, but fully present in the joy of it all. And what she found, her partner saw her effort and it made him feel seen. His family welcomed her not because she was perfect, but because she was open. Hannah says that trip shifted something in her heart. It didn't just connect her to his culture, it connected them more deeply to each other. That's the power of stepping outside of your comfort zone with love. Marco discusses how open communication with his Korean girlfriend turned cultural misunderstandings into moments of laughter. Marco shares that when he first started dating his girlfriend, there they'll have little mix-ups all the time. She would say something in a serious tone and he'll take it personally. He'll make a sarcastic joke and she'll interpret it as dismissive. At first, it caused tension, but instead of blaming each other, they started asking questions. They even made a game out of laughing when they caught themselves reacting out of habit instead of understanding. They created a shared language, part Korean, part English, part inside jokes. Marco said, "Something I'll never forget. When we stopped assuming we were right and started assuming we were different, it changed everything." That, my friends, is what building bridges looks like. Number 5, practice cultural appreciation, not appropriation. This one matters especially when you're blending lives. Appreciation means learning the why behind the traditions. It means honoring the roots, giving credit and staying humble. It means asking your partner how they feel about you wearing a cultural symbol or participating in a sacred event. It means listening when they say, "This is sacred to us," and being okay with not needing to participate in everything to be connected. Respect shows up in the details and your willingness to ask. Number 6, check in with each other often. Culture isn't just what you were raised in, it's something that evolves as you grow. What your partner believed 5 years ago may shift. What you need today may be different than last year. Make space for those check ins. How are you doing blending our traditions? Do you feel like your culture is being seen and honored? Is there anything new you'd like to share or explore together? That kind of intentional love, it builds bridges that last lifetimes. So, my beautiful people, here's the truth. Intercultural relationships aren't about erasing differences. They're about creating harmony within the contrast. They're about laughing at the mishaps, growing from the hard moments, and celebrating every single step you take together. When you show up with compassion, when you choose curiosity, and when you build bridges every day, you create a relationship that doesn't just survive, it thrives. And that's what we're all about here on Energize Your Passion, right? Now let's pull all this together in our final segment. Stick with me because this last part is all about celebration, reflection, and a call to keep this energy going strong. Segment 5, Celebrate and Connect. Wow, what a journey we've been on together today, my friends. Let's take a moment to breathe it all in, to really feel the beauty, the challenges, the laughter, and the lessons we've uncovered together. This episode wasn't just about talking about intercultural relationships. It was about honoring the powerful, joyful, sometimes messy, but always beautiful tapestry we weave when we open our hearts to someone from a different world. So let's do a little recap, sunshine style. Celebrate differences, from Joy's kitchen adventure trading recipes to Sam's emotional journey through language. We saw firsthand how differences can be the source of our greatest growth and connection. It's not about ignoring what makes us unique. It's about leaning in, learning, and loving each other because of those differences. Embrace challenges. Maria and Peter showed us that challenges aren't roadblocks, they're invitations. Invitations to dig deeper, to question what we take for granted, and to choose love, even when it means stepping outside of our comfort zones. Find shared values. Tariq and Lucy reminded us that no matter where we come from, there are values that unite us, whether it's a love for the planet or a commitment to family and new tradition that honor everyone's story. When we find those common threads, our relationships become not just strong, but unbreakable. Nurture mutual respect. Hannah and Marco experiences taught us that real respect isn't just about understanding each other, it's about celebrating each other, about turning moments of confusion into moments of laughter, of travel into transformation, and of mistakes into milestones on a shared journey. When we put it all together, here's the bigger truth. Intercultural relationships aren't just relationships, they're revolutions. Small, everyday revolutions of love, courage, and creativity that shows the world what's possible when we choose connection over fear. And guess what? You're part of that revolution. Every time you choose curiosity over judgment, every time you say, teach me about your world, every time you celebrate both what's different and what's shared, you are helping to create a kinder, richer, more beautiful world for everyone. So, beautiful souls, here's your call to action. Let's keep this celebration going. Share this podcast with someone who might need a little positivity today. Rate us 5 stars if you felt inspired. And don't forget to drop your own stories in the comments or on social media. Let's energize this beautiful community together. You never know if your story might be the one that lights up someone else's world. Until next time, stay radiant, stay curious, and as always, keep energizing your passion. Love and light. This is Sunshine, signing off.